in my shoes, and he kept saying, "Stop moving your feet." I couldn't see my feet. But the machine could pick it up. So that's how he knew. He said, "You got to be still." I'm like, "Sorry, I'm just nervous. I've never done one of these for y'all. I've done it for another company, but not the FBI. Come on." But the only questions he could ask me were related to the information that I have seen, handled, and whether or not I've divulged that information outside of the FBI to other intelligence agencies. And I just told him, I said, I wouldn't know what to sell, let alone what I'm looking at, as to whether or not it was something worthy of making $1 off of. I said, go ahead, that's what I'm supposed to do. So, and I've got to have another one here soon, so I'm not looking forward to that. But you have to take and pass the polygraph. If you do not pass the polygraph, you can request a second chance to take it again through our headquarters. But they have to give their blessing, and if they don't give their blessing, you're done to never be considered for any employment with the FBI, because that polygraph has to be resolved before you can pursue other positions, which means it has to be passing. So any failure constitutes you're finished with us. So if they do approve it and you do get a second chance and you blow that, you're pretty much done. They don't give thirds and fourths. So with us, everything's a 2-chance try. So 2 and you're done with us. And then they're going to do your background investigation, where investigators it's a contracting service that we use, but they'll go around and tell everybody, I'm a special investigator with the FBI, flash their creds, and everybody's like, oh, it's FBI. They are not employees of ours. They just have the credentials as being a special contract investigator. And they do all of our background investigations, and they're going to interview your neighbors. They're going to interview your current employer, your supervisor, co-workers that work with you. They're going to interview prior employers, supervisors, review personnel files, interview any co-workers that are still there that work with you. The 3 references that you list on your application, they're going to interview those 3 folks, and they're going to find other people that you have not written anywhere on your application and interview them about you. We're going to make sure we know you inside and out before we take a chance and give you that security clearance and hire you. So,
a friend of mine who is now currently working with the FBI with the accounting aspects of it, and
in Columbia?
Mm-hmm.
Who?
And
Bud Wilson?
Yes.
I did his process.
Okay.
He's a financial analyst.
Right. He was
or
saying they went back
forensic
to his
accountant.
girlfriends. He was amazed at how in-depth the background check.
Oh, yeah, I had one of the people that was interviewed for my background. They came and he said, this guy in this suit was all official, and you have to keep in mind, this kid, literally this teenager, was a high school dropout that lived across the street from my parents. And he had just done something that morning that he shouldn't have done, that he thought, I'm going to get busted for it. So here comes this guy with this suit and he's flashing creds, and he said, at first I didn't know whether to run or see what he had to say. I said, please tell me you did not run. He said, no, I listened. And he tried his best to get me to say that you've used drugs and that you're a bad drunk. And he said, I said, dude, you don't know, she's the squarest girl I know. You just don't know. You couldn't ask for a straighter person to work for you. So I was like, okay, I don't know if that was a glowing recommendation on his part. But at least he didn't bolt, because that would have just went, So anyway, they don't hold your neighbors against you, but they do hold the personnel records. Anything that's derogatory in your personnel files, they do take that very seriously. I've watched people get disqualified because of what's written in personnel records, especially if it's really bad. If you got a personality conflict with the boss, just bite your tongue. Find another job, move on quietly, because it will bite you in the hind, trust me. So the other things that I see that disqualify applicants for employment with the FBI, we do pull a copy of your credit report. A lot of people go, what? You know why we do that? Because you have that little thing called a top secret security clearance, and it sets you up into a position for blackmail. Trust me. The Russians, the Chinese, anybody else out there that wants to know how this country does what we do that's classified, they will get to you, especially if you're struggling in your finance department. We're not asking that you have all your bills paid off by the time you apply for a job with us, so long as you are current in your payments. That's all we look for. If you've defaulted on any student loans, you would never be considered for employment with any federal government agency, because the Uncle Sam backs those. So you got to get those current and stay current in them. The other thing that we see usually is drug usage. Our policy right now clearly states you cannot have used marijuana within the last 3 years before you apply, and you cannot have used any other illegal substance within the last 10 years before you apply. And I've had applicants that come in, and we have a 2-page drug disclosure form that has everything I've ever seen and never seen. And I've had people fill out every column, and I'm like, okay, what have you not tried? You know, seriously, come on. So that will hang you up. Now, it doesn't mean you can't have, you know, experimented once or twice in high school with marijuana or something like that. And we make you provide the month and the year that you used it. Did you buy it? Did you sell it? And if there was a friend that you used it with, I'd watched my headquarters. They actually came back to me last week and told me how to get in touch with my applicant and find out who it was that they used it with and see if they still maintain contact with that person, because we need to interview them regarding that drug usage to verify that what they've told us was accurate. So we don't mess around. Literally, we don't. So applicants, it absolutely dumbfounds them when I send that 2-page form across the desk and I'm sitting there and I'm waiting, and they're like, you see sweat beads pop out, you see cheeks turn red because they're mortified that they have to sit in front of me and list everything they've ever used. It's easy on a computer to go, yeah, I use marijuana. Yeah, I might have used cocaine once. And that's it. But then when you have to sit and ask them details about it and want to know, why did you use it? Was it experimental? Did you buy it? Was it given to you? Was it at a party? A lot of times what I can tell you what I see, a lot of it is college atmosphere, dorms, and parties. That's usually what we see. We actually had an applicant whose father is retired from the FBI, and she applied, but her boyfriend was a bad, bad drug user. He bought in her presence, sold in her presence, used in her presence. She never used, but she couldn't get past our polygraph because of it. Because she had full knowledge of it. And she wouldn't distance herself from that person. So she will never be hired by us. So just something to kind of keep in mind. So those are some of the areas that we take a look at, and then your background investigation will be complete. They usually have 21 days to get your background investigation done. And after you come through and have your security interview with me and your polygraph exam, and if you apply for an agent and have your medical physical and your PT test is done, it's like we kind of fall off the face of the earth and you've forgotten about. It's because headquarters is in charge, not me. So I get people calling and emailing and want to know, what's the status? I don't have one. You'll know when you're hired before I'll know you're hired, because our headquarters runs the background investigation and they control all aspects of hiring. I'm just kind of the paper pusher here in Columbia to get them everything that they need. Any follow-up that's needed, of course, you'll hear from me, and then after that it'll be like dead silence for 30 to 45 days. And then out of the blue, you'll get this phone call saying, when can you start? So I know when I got mine, it took me 8 months. I had given up. And I'd never lived anywhere except South Carolina. I've never traveled overseas. And that's the other thing. If you travel overseas, we're going to do country checks for every country you've ever been in to make sure you've not been arrested or charged for a crime, or that you're not wanted in that country for a crime. So.
Now, do you have to go through the same guidelines if you're just going in on the professional side?
Everybody has the same requirements. Okay. Same requirements. The only difference is professional staff, unless you're applying for an electronics technician position, you don't have a medical physical to undergo, and a PT test. You don't have to do that for the professional staff. It's the application online, right. The interview with management in our office. Then if you're selected, then I would send you, of course, the email bonds with the SF-86 and all this stuff to get filled out. And then you would have the security interview, the polygraph, the fingerprints, the drug test, and then the background investigation. And it used to be that it would take between 8 months to a year, up to a year and a half to get somebody hired. And we've sped that up. So now it can take 6 to 8 months. I've actually seen people be hired in 4 months because they've never lived anywhere except South Carolina. They've never traveled outside of the state or the country. And